When Texas Rangers entered Galveston's Balinese Room, the band supposedly began playing The Eyes of Texas. It sounded like entertainment, but employees knew it was a warning. Hundreds of feet away, workers began hiding the casino before Rangers could reach it. Everyone seemed to know illegal gambling was happening there, yet for years, the Balinese Room remained open. So how did Sam Maceo build a casino that Texas seemingly couldn't shut down? Sam Maceo did not arrive in Galveston looking like a future gambling boss. Born in Palermo, Sicily in 1894, he eventually settled in Galveston and worked as a barber alongside his brother Rose. But when Prohibition began in 1920, Galveston was already a port city with a long history of drinking, gambling, and vice. The new federal law did not eliminate alcohol. Instead, it created an enormous illegal market for anyone willing to supply it. The Maceo brothers began moving into that world, first through liquor, and then through clubs where customers could drink, eat, dance, and gamble. By the 1920s, their Hollywood Dinner Club had become one of the city's most fashionable destinations. Sam quickly discovered that the most successful criminal enterprise did not always look criminal. His establishments were polished, respectable, and designed to attract people who might never enter an ordinary gambling den. Sam Maceo wanted more than a hidden casino. He wanted Galveston to become a destination. While Rose handled much of the internal operation, Sam became the public face of the organization. He built relationships with businessmen, politicians, entertainers, and ordinary residents. The Macios invested in legitimate businesses and eventually held interests in dozens of establishments around the island. At their height, their organization employed thousands of people. That mattered because gambling did not exist separately from Galveston's economy. Hotels filled with visitors. Restaurants served them, entertainers performed for them, local businesses benefited from them. Sam understood that if enough respectable people profited from the system, shutting it down became much more complicated. His greatest creation would eventually stand on 21st Street and Seawall Boulevard, extending hundreds of feet over the Gulf. It became known as the Balinese Room. The Balinese Room opened under that name in 1942, but the building had existed in earlier forms before being transformed into an elaborate South Pacific-style nightclub. Guests entered a world of tropical decorations, palm trees, music, dancing, drinks, and expensive dinners. Celebrities including Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, George Burns, Duke Ellington, and the Marx Brothers appeared here. But the legitimate nightclub was only part of the attraction. Further down the pier was the gambling room, where customers could wager money, even though casino gambling was illegal in Texas. Law enforcement knew about it, and the Macios knew that law enforcement knew about it. The long distance between the entrance and the casino gave employees precious time whenever officers arrived. The route became known as Ranger Run. Alarms warned workers that authorities were coming, and the casino was designed with hidden spaces where gambling equipment could disappear. The story that the band played The Eyes of Texas as a warning became part of the Balinese Room legend. Rangers could walk hundreds of feet down the pier expecting to find a casino and arrive to discover people quietly playing cards and dominoes. But the Balinese Room survived because of more than clever architecture. It survived because Sam Maceo had helped create a system in which gambling, tourism, politics, and local business had become intertwined. That protection began weakening when the men who built the system disappeared. Sam died in 1951. Rose died 3 years later. Without the brothers, the organization still existed, but much of the personal influence that had held Galveston's gambling economy together was gone. Then in 1957, Texas officials began a serious campaign to end open gambling on the island. Attorney General Will Wilson targeted Galveston's vice industry, and the Texas Rangers applied pressure directly to the clubs like the Balinese Room. This time, they didn't necessarily need to catch anyone in the act. Rangers could simply enter the club, sit down, and remain there for hours. Their presence alone discouraged gamblers from placing bets. The old warning systems and hidden compartments could not solve that problem. The strategy worked. Galveston's gambling industry began collapsing. Thousands of slot machines were destroyed, and the era that earned Galveston its reputation as a free state came to an end. The Balinese Room continued to exist, but not as the casino Sam Maceo had created. The building remained on the pier for decades, surviving storms, changing owners, and eventually becoming a legitimate entertainment venue. In 1997, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. By then, the secret casino rooms and ranger raids belonged to another generation. but the Gulf had one final chapter left for the building. On September 13th, 2008, Hurricane Ike struck Galveston. The storm destroyed the Balinese Room, tearing apart the famous pier that had survived long after the gambling operation disappeared. Sam Macio's story is easy to reduce to the story of a gangster who ran an illegal casino, but that misses what made the Balinese Room possible. He built something that existed in full public view because a large part of Galveston benefited from keeping it there. The Rangers knew about the gambling, politicians knew about it, residents knew about it, and tourists came specifically for it. For years, the question was not whether the Balinese Room was breaking the law, the question was whether Galveston actually wanted the law enforced. And that may be the most interesting part of Sam Macio's legacy. Was the Balinese Room protected by one powerful man, or an entire city that decided it was better off looking the other way? Thank you for taking the time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support the Eclectic Historical Society, you can now become a member here on YouTube. With that being said, this is the Eclectic Historical Society, and remember, history is lost if it isn't repeated.